was funny how there's this concept of like the shipping issues, like Evergrande. I was thinking about this last night. It's kind of funny. The company that owned that ship is Evergreen. The ship was called, what was it, Evergiven, and now the real estate company in China is Evergrande. And I'm like, all these things, I'm like, they sound very similar. They start with the same concept. I'm like, it's just weird how all this stuff's going on. Like, it's like the Panama Canal thing at the same time. So we're having this now deflationary pressure on our dollar, and then now China's like, oh, let's cause this, and it's going to put more inflationary pressure on purchasing goods from us now too, which means we can charge more, we can funnel even more money out, put more strain on the general consumer in there, put more debt in them. Like I think it benefited them in a lot of ways. The other thing that was weird, like the Panama Canal, I'm just going to quickly mention this. Like, I'm going off because it's just like this is all the shit that I think about, but like.
Good.
That ship crashed. You know how many ships get stuck in there? Like, there's ships that get stuck in there all the time, and they're pulled out within 5 to 12 hours. Like, it's weird that this ship somehow got stuck for a week. And it's like they're costing hundreds of millions of dollars a day, and they had 2 excavators out there digging? What? Are you kidding me? Like, if it's costing that much money, could you not have floated over like 50 excavators and had that thing unstuck in like 10 minutes? Like, that made no sense to me that every other ship that's ever gotten stuck in there, which is like, I'm pretty sure a weekly occurrence because it is a tight run, they yanked them out. No big deal. And I understand that this one got wedged up, but like
we're getting all.
I'm getting all over the place. But it all boils back to I truly believe that this whole thing is an attack from China on the States. Like, I think we're getting into.
I think you're giving them
fishy turmoil.
No. I think you're right. I do think that some of it was also them realizing their own situation. Right,
yeah.
Like they play chess while the world plays checkers. I guess if you want to go that route, in terms of their like kind of they kind of have this debt and supply based colonialism, right? They're like, we are going to, in debt, like we're going to put you in debt to us, and like that quote I said too, like that's you giving us your liberty, and then these slow kind of this production and this supply chain that they are controlling also kind of is their passive way that they colonize. Like the Western world, we come in guns blazing and we just colonize, and they're like they do it very it's very visual, it's very offensive, and it's right in your grill. Whereas, how do I turn this thing off? Man, I gotta
silent mode.
Yeah, that's whereas I think the Chinese thing has been more of a slow drip, right? Like it's harder to notice when, again, they just take on the world's debt, they continue to expand, everyone's heavily reliant on them. So I think they have been doing that behind the scenes for, decades and decades and decades. I think they also, though, did see what was going on in their own economy, and they were like, okay, we've got a couple options here, like, or we got a couple problems brewing. One, it's our own kind of debt crisis and real estate challenges. And from that is going to be a huge amount of civil unrest. So, and we're going to be weakened potentially financially. So what could we do to get ahead of this and, one, control our populace, and two, put pressure on the rest of the world so that we aren't in a weakened position relative to them, because they will also be in a weakened position. And that maybe is the argument for your grand conspiracy, which is like, all right, we control our own population by mandating that with a click of a button, we can isolate everyone. We literally infect the rest of the country and grind their economies to a halt. And then simultaneously, we do all these other workings where we drive inflation through the roof and devalue other countries' currencies, because we know that our own economy and our currency could be at risk. But if you devalued the U.S. dollar, which is kind of the marker for the entire world, then that's going to come out in the wash and it's going to balance. So I think that is
we believe that they're having a crisis over there?
I do for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I think like they have the stomach and the coffers to bear it.
Yeah, they also have the ability to change things like that to like make it happen. Like they're like, okay, we got too many houses, boom, we'll rip down 1 million of them, and now we're good to go again.
This is the other thing. If you want to take it even broader, like I wonder if they're the ones that are also helping to spread, and they would be doing this very covertly, this great reset. Because you keep hearing this, COVID's this great opportunity for us to rebuild the economy in a much more sustainable way. And yeah, it's going to be expensive, and we're all going to have to make sacrifices, but, we're going to do it, and blah, blah, blah. And we're each going to have to do our part. And, here in Canada, we're going to have these, more carbon taxes and all of this. And you know what they're doing in like China and these other emerging markets? They're like, now you guys can do all that. We're just going to go over here and print money. We're going to still do it as cheap as we always have. We're still going to, in some respects, like oppress our own population. We're not going to care about the environment. And as a result, we're going to take the competitive advantage we already had on you and we're going to run it through the roof. And we are kind of slowly poisoning our own economies with this moral superiority that we're trying to have over the rest of the world when it comes to things like climate change. And, you know, I'm a big believer in climate change. I just think that we've reached the point now where we're putting all this climate change stuff on individuals. And this is why some of these big corporations were behind all this, like, oh, recycle, reuse, and reduce, and saying, oh, it's at the individual consumer base. The problem with the pollution is that, you know, Timmy and Sally aren't recycling enough, which is total BS, right? Like, it's the big corporations that are polluting the vast majority, probably like 90% of the world's carbon output is from these big corporations, but we're shifting responsibility onto individuals, and now we continue to do it. Like, oh, you know, I'm voting in favor of more taxes on me, and these other countries are just laughing at us.
Totally. We've talked about this before. It's like we're thinking it's all like going to be green and amazing. The only thing I think with that, though, is I kind of disagree, is like the corporations are producing something that we all need and want. So it's like, if we're really going to make a point, then we're not going to buy from that corporation.
Man, and then we come back to this consumerist culture, which like just went through
like,
the and
if you're going to buy from them, they have to make it some way.
Yeah.
The other option is, do you want to pay 5 times the price for what you're getting?
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you'll go to somewhere else.
When I was broke, I had rich habits. When I was broke, I had rich habits.